All right, we can call the meeting to order, please. And the first order is roll call. Amar Hariharan, present.
Here.
I'm Mark Roush. Hello. Thank you for coming.
The management team, I'm Adam Haney at CID Consortium.
I'm Lori Harris from CID Consortium.
And Jane Swinford, on-site manager here at the clubhouse.
All right. So the first agenda item is open forum. So do you want to be the moderator?
You can close those. All it takes is just a careful pull because it's held at the top. And if you just give it a firm but careful pull, there you go.
Do you want to be the moderator?
Exactly. Thank you.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
So,
Go ahead.
At the last board meeting, I had asked if a suggestion box could be put in the gym. I think you guys are okay with that, but I haven't seen one in there yet.
so is there an update that you can give Jane on the suggestion box closer to the gym?
In the gym.
In the
morning.
gym.
Wanted a suggestion box in the gym.
I didn't know that was a board, that the board made that decision to do that. If so, I mean, that's all I do is just order one and set it up.
Sure.
Not a
Okay.
problem.
So
We
yeah,
do.
Just, yeah,
maybe we can go ahead and
We
do
do.
that, please.
no, not a problem.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask Jane, Thursday night when we talked with Craig out in front, we noticed that several of the lights are out in the front of the building. A couple of the fans don't work. And there was an indication that we just need light bulbs changed.
Oh, no, actually, it's not a light bulb situation. It's bigger than that. It's an actual computer issue. We have what's called a PCI lighting control system, and it's a box. It's a computerized control box. And I've had electricians out, and they were trying to figure it out. But we need an actual PCI technician to be able to come out and look at it. Our system's 12 years old. The electricians that have come out are up to date with the newer models, but not so much on the older models. So we're trying to find an electrician that actually deals with that specific model.
How long have we known that that was the cause?
It's been about a couple weeks now.
Craig, is there any particular reason when we asked you about that Thursday, why you didn't tell us what was going on instead of indicating that they just hadn't changed the light bulbs out there?
I don't believe I said that they hadn't just changed the light bulbs out there. There was, I think I mentioned that it had been brought to management's attention and they were working on it. I think we're hearing the same thing from Jane right now.
But you indicated it was just changing light bulbs.
Right.
I don't recall the specific words, but
You said that management couldn't change light bulbs. Those were your specific words. So let's be clear on that. You did directly say that management. Why is it that we got direct management to change light bulbs?
okay.
So if you knew about the situation, then you could explain to that little meeting that we had with yourself, that you kind of requested, so that management, if you knew the situation, Craig, you could have just explained why those lights are out. And are we also talking about the lights in the parking lot? We've got ladies that are leaving here from classes and are walking up to a dark parking lot. So would you call that safe for the community? So let's go back just to address what you knew about the light bulbs, and that's what you corrected.
Are you asking a question?
No, I'm saying make your statement clear, please, because you directed that to management. You said, why is it we got direct management to change light bulbs? So you were specifically saying, why didn't you tell Jane, why doesn't Jane change the light bulb?
Okay. So any? Was it a question? I didn't.
Well, it should be a question to Craig to answer, because he made it sound like nobody was taking care of it. And he knew what the situation was, and from what Jane just explained, it's not on her. It's that you could have.
I think the question is, did you know there was a situation, and if so, why didn't you tell?
Is that your question?
Yeah, pretty much, Craig. It's pretty simple.
I walked away with the impression that Jane wasn't doing her job because of the way you put it to all of us.
It's a little bit deeper than that. The point that I recall trying to make at that time was that it really ought not to fall to the board to point out all of the things that need to be done, for example, fixing the lights. And I still hold that opinion.
But she is, and you've known about it for a couple of weeks. And that's where I have an issue, because when it was brought up to you, you should have just stated, you know, Jane has let me know A, B, C, and D. It's being worked on.
Sure, that's not the same as the point that I was making, which is it shouldn't have to fall to the board to point out things like the lights that need to be fixed. That was the point I was making.
Any other overthink? Right.
I'd like to make a statement. I've been a homeowner since 2005. I've owned several homes out here. And the question is why am I passionate about what's going on in my community? Well, for reasons is that you see a lot of people take solid interest in their community. And we've elected certain board members, certain board members have gotten put on. But when we ask a board member a direct question, and you seem to have knowledge of, that's what they call in the legal terms, having knowledge of, you should be able to be forthright and answer the question directly. We brought several questions to Mr. Osborne, Craig Osborne, and he can't seem to answer them in a direct manner that would, what you call, satisfy whatever the question is, to a point. So if you're saying, Craig, that you're asking management to step forward, you should make that clear to management. But changing light bulbs, if something's to happen out here with somebody in the parking lot, Craig, who does it fall back on? Not just management, it falls on all of us. So those same concerns that you say that you weren't aware of or how you worded it, you got to stop dancing around the truth, okay? Because seriously, Craig, you're putting all of us in jeopardy. I've got a list of all of the complaints from 2016 about that pool from the county you have knowledge of. Have you corrected them? So, I'm not asking a question, I'm making a statement. You need to get your act together. Because I personally promise, if your name is on the ballot, I am going to go around here and make this my statement to say you are not trustworthy. You're not truthful. You don't answer questions in a direct manner. That which you say, we should all know. It was revealed that you use people to put out your agenda to get them off the board. That's a no-no. Yeah, that statement was made. I got it on recording, okay? A statement was made that that's exactly what you did. So I'm making a statement today. If Craig Osborne is on that ballot, you have every right to be. I promise you, Craig, I'm going to go around here and start telling people who you really are and for what you are. Because we as homeowners deserve the best. We deserve what we're getting paid for. I'm not getting that from the villas. I'm not getting that just being a homeowner. So do I put my trust into the board? No. Amir and Mark haven't been here long enough. They've been pretty stand-up and forthright. The statement is you've been here long enough, Craig. You should start giving direct answers. And to what Pam was just asking you about, the pool, right? We haven't answered those questions truthfully. 2016, we're still out of compliance. Let Pam tell you about it. But us as homeowners don't need to be doing all that research. All of those complaints that are going on with the pool, you had knowledge of, so did Phil, so did everybody else that was on that board. Let me ask you this, your liquor license, are you guys on there?
I don't think that they've taken us on yet.
Okay, well, you're supposed to get on there as soon as possible.
But
All of the other ones are gone. So that needs to be taken care of.
We need to do that.
Right, exactly. So all of these things, Craig, that you say that you're looking into, deserve an answer. And it doesn't take 2 to 3 weeks or another board meeting and another board meeting down the road. Let's start taking care of them now. That's what a good leader does. That's what Greg Douglas does. I take on a situation and I follow it through. Or I'll personally call him back and give him the answer. The attorney's not here tonight. So why is that, Craig? You didn't ask for him tonight? Or he couldn't be here tonight? That's a question. I do have a question there.
I don't know that it was Craig's responsibility to ask.
Most of the time, Markey does have the attorney.
No. But what I mean is that I don't know that that's his responsibility at this point, right? Maybe that should have gone to me as the secretary. I frankly thought Bruce would have him,
Okay.
so.
That's why we asked him what his position was.
Could I make a quick response?
Sorry, go ahead.
So the two things that I do agree with, Greg, that you're saying, one is that we deserve better. We absolutely deserve better. I've been on this board for a long time. I've been very frustrated with how things have been going in the past, and I'm working very hard to get better. I think we are getting better. The second thing that I really agree with that you said was that Amar and Mark are brand new, and I believe they're working in their view of the best interests, which is exactly as they should be doing. Whether they turn out to be long-term or not, we don't know. But I agree with your point that they seem to be learning the ropes, and I appreciate them stepping up. So you made a similar point, and those 2 points I agree with you on.
I have two more things. I was concerned when I found out there's an $11,000 price tag on the operation of the election, and that we're having to wait until October to get it done. So I made some phone calls, and I came across a company down in Upland, California, an HOA company, that has sent me paperwork, and I spoke to the owner of the company. His name is Richard Monson, and he sent me documentation. They will do our election for $6,500, and he can up and have it ready to go, the first mailings within 48 hours. And I don't know why we're...
Is that the ballot box, even the name of the company?
California Homeowners Association, California Association of Homeowners. It's Munson Real Estate Investment Management, but I have, here's the printout. Yeah, I didn't want the original at home.
What was your second item, Kat?
And my second has to go to the liquor license, because I would like to get a rumor that's going around at this point. I'll put it as a rumor, but I would like answers because it's serious. Is the alcohol, the beer and the wine, champagne that's being sold at our snack bar, where are we getting it from? Because what we're being told is that when events are held here at the clubhouse, if people bring alcohol in, once it comes inside the building, they can't take it back, whether it's been opened or not.
Hold on, Dana. Hold on. Let Jane, is that true, Jane?
Yes, with the way our license is set up, alcohol cannot leave these premises.
Okay.
So what are you doing with that alcohol?
It's in storage.
Okay, now, let me ask you, do we have a distributor?
Yes, Mark's fine.
Markstein. So what do you do with it? What do you store?
I haven't ordered any beer from Mark's. I don't even know how old the beer is in the cooler right now. We only have a very limited supply of beer and wine,
Okay.
and we haven't really had to reorder anything since I've been here.
Okay, so what Pam is getting to, go ahead, Pam.
Well, I've heard it from two different sources now that have spoken with the gal in the snack bar, that the alcohol that's in the refrigerator in there is actually the leftover stuff that's being used from people that can't take it home. And by law, you guys have to throw that alcohol away. You can't store it.
And
You can't keep it.
resell
The
No,
only
I know
thing-
you can't resell it.
Well, that's exactly
But-
what's going on.
Two people have been told by the gal at the snack bar that that's exactly what's going on. And when you have these events here, if there's alcohol left over, they're right. They cannot take it off premises once it comes in here.
But you can't.
But when it's left here, you have to open it up and throw it out. That's the only thing you can do, and that's per the liquor license people.
So,
Yeah, I need to look into that.
that's a clear.
Election related?
But
Go ahead.
if the clubhouse has purchased for something going on here, that I know, because I've bartended, I've assisted bartending out here, that can be, at least if they're they're not open, that can be used.
Not in
Again,
not in our special license. We-
Right.
No.
The
if
club
it's
license.
purchased
You haven't
by,
looked
if it's
into it,
purchased
Amber.
by the clubhouse.
No.
No,
You
because
haven't
it's
looked
not
into
a
it.
type of resale license that we
Exactly.
have, it's a club license,
Yeah.
which there's no alcohol that can leave the premises, whether it's been brought in by
Right,
someone.
and it didn't, but for another occasion, I know this past summer, there was a, occasion, what was it? I can't remember what it was. But anyhow, it was a community occasion run by the clubhouse. And it was used then. And why wouldn't we be able to if the clubhouse bought it?
If the clubhouse purchases it, yes. we
Yes,
can- we can
that's,
resell it.
that's what I said.
But we can't, but they cannot take it off of the premises.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But it can be, if it's for a community event that the clubhouse sponsors, it can be used municipally.
Yes, if
Yeah,
if the
right.
clubhouse purchases.
If-
If the
yeah.
clubhouse purchases it, that's why I said we have to distribute. I need to add a fact to what Pam's talking about.
Okay.
That's why I asked you, are you guys on the liquor license? If I was to go get a bottle of beer, and a bottle of beer came from a party prior to being left over from someplace, let's just say beer and wine are now twist off. Somebody puts something into that bottle and puts it back. Guess what? If we're not using a distributor, you can't trace it back. Am I right? So that's why they tell you, and if you go look at the liquor license, Amber, and anybody else, go take a look at the type of license that we have. It says, any alcohol that is not consumed in the building must be dumped for that particular reason. Because if somebody gets a tainted beer or whatever it is, wine or champagne, guess who's on the hook for that? Has anybody looked into that? But here's the other thing. We're not supposed to be selling anything that comes in that's not from a distributor. That's a no-no. And it says it right there in the contract, that it says, when we hand you this license, these are our guidelines. Are we living up to them? No.
Can I ask a question, just to clarify? So, I understand this is a big deal with the liquor license. Has there been liquor sold since? I mean, like, has there been a crime that's happened since the new board has taken place? or-
We don't know. The rumors are, and it's been, people have gotten their information from the lady that runs the snack bar,
Okay,
that when this alcohol from parties is left over,
okay.
it's being sold through the snack bar.
And
Which
is
is
that
illegal.
private parties?
Got it.
Are you, is that private parties?
So-
Yeah, that's private.
So-
It's
so
any
I-
party, any alcohol that
If it's
does
open.
not come from a distributor,
So
period. It
so
doesn't have to be open.
I personally think this seems like this is kind of a new thing for the board. So are you guys good to tackle this and then come back to us?
My suggestion, you know, I've been looking for something good to say. My suggestion is we put the stuff in here now and we drink it.
As long as you're a little.
Let's drink it and get this.
Let's go.
Well, do we need to do a, I
Sounds
mean, I
good.
guess so, we get some clarification. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. Do we need to do like a, Boston Tea Party on the alcohol until we figure out if we can sell it or not? I mean, what do we need to do?
We can't-
And the more lights it doesn't matter.
Clarity.
I'll say this since the lawyer's not
It's in the
here.
building.
If this wasn't on the agenda, the board cannot invoke a big discussion about it or take any action on it if it's not on the agenda.
But we can drink it.
So here's my question to that. I get it, I get the agenda rules, but if this is something that, if they're right and it causes a
Yeah, it's a
liability,
liability.
there needs to be at least a stop, a freeze
So
until we do something.
I think this is probably more of an operational thing than a board, action thing.
Well,
So-
from my understanding, when I looking at the inventory, because I just did the deposit, the alcohol that was sold was just domestic beers that were ordered from Markstein.
Okay.
And I will look into it, and if there's any alcohol in there from leftover parties, I will dump it immediately.
Right. So that's the point, right?
And going forward, that's all.
And moving forward, it's kind of every party will be done.
Right.
If you wanted to speak, the gentleman I spoke to, his name is TJ Johnson. He's a supervising program tech
Okay,
at ABC,
okay.
and
You
his
doesn't
number
have
is
to call it a TJ.
916-419.
You could call it a Marjorie. Am I dating myself?
Was it 419?
Anybody remember that?
1319.
1319?
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam.
All right. So before, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to change the subject, kind of. So I just wanted to, this is what I got in the mail today from the Helsing Company, and I don't know if other folks got it,
Yep.
Yeah.
but it was the notice of election of delegates and directors and call for volunteers. So here's the forms. So that's what, so they're already, the Helsing Company has already sent all of these out, and I guess everything's underway.
If it's moving forward, there's nothing we can do. However, I would hope you would keep the information,
Oh,
because
totally.
6,500 versus
Yes.
11,000.
And that is what when I remember in some of the previous board meetings, Mark was also advocating for some other companies, some ladies group.
Well, and Pam actually picked up she became the one-woman committee to do that.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. We don't have to go back to them every time.
Yeah, we need to shop somewhere else besides San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely, you're right. So maybe we can keep it on file.
Yeah.
I'll make sure it goes on.
I wanted to just talk a little bit about something that happened this afternoon. And I was under the impression that, you know, the community and the HOA was reaching out to people who live in the community to form committees to assist, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I don't think anybody here expects 3 people or 5 people to take it all on their shoulders and get everything done. I know some people are new, I know some people have been here for a long time. I know the pool's a major hot button, so when we started talking about setting up different organizations or committees, my impression was that these committees were going to do research, they were going to understand all the ins and outs, they were going to come and they were going to give feedback to the board, possibly present to any community members who would want to hear it, and then ultimately those decisions were going to be made.
Right.
I was a little bit caught off guard this afternoon, Mark, when you got on next door and you started talking about the pool and these different bids and how are these bids different, and these 5 bids that we have aren't even close. They're not apples to apples, they're completely on the other end of the spectrum. And here I'm excited to come here and talk, and then who's on these committees to start doing the research to present all the different options we have. When you're saying the board's close to making a decision, how can the board be close to making a decision when we haven't even formed a committee yet? So I'm confused on what I'm signing up for, because, listen, I'll be completely honest, I got a lot of other things to do with my time, so if I'm volunteering to be on a committee that is literally just for show, just let me know and I'll do something else, because that's kind of what I'm worried about. And I'm good with transparency, I'm good with everybody having transparency, I'm fine with that. I just don't think it's appropriate for you as a board member to start shaping opinion before all the facts are out there. So
I didn't do it as a board member, if you read that.
Don't do that. You can't separate and say, my dog Sparky told me this, and I'm not a board member right now, I'm a homeowner.
No, you're incorrect, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want.
Just because you do whatever you want doesn't make it right.
No, I do everything I want that's legal, and it's legal, and I do what I want. Now, you're the same person, Stephen, God bless you, who also read what I sent you, and in which I said, the files are large, and I'm sending them in groups, and you had to rush and send me a note that said, I wanted all of them, I didn't want one.
Well, I didn't want the one that everybody already had, that's the only one you sent me.
Right at the top.
And then I got the other ones.
Right
Listen,
at the
we can
top.
get into it, and we're gonna go at it now, we're gonna go at it later.
Stephen.
Okay, remember, this is open forum, not time for discussion.
All I'm saying is it would be nice if the committees could be formed, come to a conclusion, present that conclusion to the homeowners before one of the board members is coming out trying to push their own agenda.
Steve, I clearly said, I had no idea when there was going to be a vote. But it's obviously going to happen soon. Now, what does soon mean? Well, I think we would like to have the issue settled sometime before the end of this year. I think we would like to have it settled sometime before the end of this summer. I think. So that's soon, as compared to, should we wait 3 years or 5 years to make the decision? Now, I released information on my own volition. These guys don't know about it because I did it as an individual, not a board member. I made it very clear. And I got to know. And Greg, I hope you keep this in mind. When the election comes along, please tell people not to vote for me, because I ain't running and I don't want to know about it. Okay? But the point is that information had to get out there. It has to be out there. I don't disagree with the committees. I'm not stopping any committee from doing anything. Pam, I did some research on voting. I passed it along to some people. Pam was nice enough to pick it up and run with it. In case of the petition, I wasn't on the board at that time, but in case of other things, other people picked up the petition. That's all I do. I happen to be good at research, and so I do research. That's all that is.
Hey, I hear what Steve is saying. I know myself, just this last week, I signed up for a couple of committees, right? So, and I actually appreciate you putting out the poll, because I didn't know what we were talking about, and that's what I came to talk, to hear about. So, my expectation, and I hope this is what everyone agrees, is like there's an architecture committee, there's an inspection, or whatever the new name is, and there's a couple other committees. I feel like the pool situation, like, it might fall under architecture or something, or exterior. It almost needs its own little special subcommittee if you guys, because it just is such a big deal. I mean, it's millions of dollars or thousands of dollars. So for me, when I looked through the list, I didn't see anything that specifically highlighted pool. So I would hope out of today's meeting, we can kind of do a little bit of what you're wanting to talk about these things, and then at the same time walk away with some sort of committee sign-up sheet that Steve and myself or some other folks can get on, and then kind of come back in the timeline to give to you guys.
I love your point, and I agree with a lot of that, especially the fact that among the exterior committee, which is one of these committees, probably the top priority is the pool deck issue.
Okay.
And I'm going to be looking to the committee to help prioritize that and to identify that pool deck as the priority issue.
Thank you.
So I completely agree, and I do believe that that's actually in the works, as you're describing.
Awesome.
But I specifically said, in the thing I sent out, I specifically said, please come to talk about this. I didn't say I have answers.
It seemed like you were pushing your agenda on people before everybody had all the full facts.
Steve, I don't know anything about construction. I made it very clear. Now, the McKeels.
But still, as a board member, even if you're not talking as a board member, right, you take off your board member hat and you shoot this out, you say, hey, we got these 5 quotes, we got this one for $45,000. I don't know why we want to pay $1.2 million, why don't we do the $45,000? This has nothing to do with this.
No question.
They're not even in the same scope.
That is exactly my point. What I said in what
But when you don't give all that information to
I
people,
did. Steve, I wrote a thing this long.
but to give them all the information, you need to make it 500 pages long. You need to walk the scope of work.
I
That's
covered that whole thing. I said, look, John.
All right, well, for sake of time, let's
Open
move on.
forum and not discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Were you able to talk to Lennar about getting,
They left before they moved over to thing.
All right.
Ready to
Anybody
move
else?
to approval of minutes? Or
Anybody else have anything? All right, so we can move on. Thank you. So the next agenda item is approval of minutes. May
10th. Thank you for providing us the May 10th minutes. It's May 10th, not May 3rd, and I would like to move that we approve the May 10th minutes with the correction that I put out there. And I'll read, the correction is just that we need to put in a notation about the prior executive meeting in order to be compliant with Davis Sterling. So I just wrote a suggested wording about what.
I'm good with that. I'm good with the suggested wording.
So,
Just one correction.
speak up.
I have the 3 minutes to sign the board.
We just lost our quorum.
it dies?
What just left?
Right, this guy,
Yeah, you can continue with the meeting.
So was this?
Did you, Laurie, did you say that you already made the correction?
No, we will make the correction, but you guys can sign. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion. Did you second it?
I second the motion to approve the minutes with this correction.
With the correction, okay.
And so the motion to approve the minutes, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. All right, do we have any other motions to approve? What about all right. So there's an executive meeting. I'll open this. So motion to approve the executive meeting minutes.
That they're not completed because Mark hasn't submitted his portion.
Okay,
So they're not ready for,
Okay.
he's done.
all right, all right. All right, so moving on to, is there anything else on the
We
motions?
can move on to financials.
Financials, yes, so the next agenda item is financials. So are you going to give a current update or Adam? Go ahead.
Quick update. I've been working with NCM and Craig to get final financial reports for January, February, and March. We have drafted April financial reports and done our reconciliations. I'm very uncomfortable releasing them when the first quarter is still in a draft form. Craig has been helpful in working with me to push for closure on that first quarter so that we feel good about having at least a firm base that we don't expect to change loaded as our trial balance. If nothing else, on June 3rd, we'll be here, I have the audit report, and I've been loaded into our system so I can at least present the financial reports given our current system and the layout, and we'll be prepared to answer as many questions as I can in the moment. If you have questions in advance, please don't hesitate to let us know so that we can either have them ready for the meeting or just answer them as a member request for information. Did I cover?
Thank you, Adam. That's a very good explanation. And I would point out for everyone in the room that the first quarter that he's referring to is financials that were not CID consortium's financials. Those were during NCM. They were here through March 31st. And Adam and I and others have been working with NCM to get that information. It's been slow in coming. It has still not, as of this date, still not completely come over from NCM. It is a source of frustration. And as you hear from Adam, that means that the financials aren't ready for presentation to the community. That's not acceptable to me. I imagine it's not acceptable to anyone as a homeowner. Adam and I and others are continuing to work with NCM to receive those financials and to be able to prepare the financial statements that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are a few questions, so.
At what point do we get the attorney involved? Because we're already almost to the second quarter of the year, and if we don't have the first ones done because NCM's not cooperating, when do we get legal?
I would say that NCM has been responsive to questions in the moment. We just haven't gotten the final draft. We would like them to say, look, these are finalized. They've asked for more time to review the financials and make some adjustments. But because there are some significant adjustments that we've discussed, we'd like them to be finalized before we issue our reports on top of that. We could issue our report and just put a huge disclaimer across it that it's subject to the finalization of the first quarter. To answer your question about legal and when, at what point do we ask Bruce to get involved in that, we did have an email go out on Friday with a lengthy list of things that I need clarified.
From
And they
NCM.
did, to NCM, requesting that information from them. And they did say that they would give us a response by the end of the week. I'm really hopeful that we can get through the transition without having to leverage your attorney to require that information to come over. But I understand where your question's coming
Was
from.
NCM given any kind of a, basically, a drop dead date? You need to provide this information by this date?
Yeah, we did have a drop dead date with our audit report, and that was down to the last minute to get that done about a quarter after. It was several months after the close of the calendar year. I hope that we'll get to close the first quarter of the year much sooner than that process took, and I also need the supporting documentation so that when we go to do an auditor review for this year, that we don't have to go back to NCM and constantly bombard them with questions. I'd like to get the data so that I can answer those on our own.
So what I would say is, let's wait till Friday, right? And figure out what.
Where we are.
So, I saw a few more hands, sorry. So
Is that,
you-
is that
you-
audit, the part that you're talking about, is that including that missing 100 and whatever, 70-something thousand?
There
There
was
was,
a
there was
question.
nothing missing.
Craig gave us some information.
Oh, no. I
Right.
didn't. Oh, you, okay. I just didn't know if that was part
No,
of it.
on June, I'm sorry.
Yep,
On June 3rd, will you be going through line items?
I have several options in my toolkit that are available, absent any questions. If the group just wants a question and answer session, I will be as ready as I can to respond to any questions that might come up. Otherwise, I've taken settings like this as an opportunity to help homeowners and board members better understand all of the financial reports in a very general sense and how they can be used together to help make decisions for the community and better understand the financial condition of the association. So I have several paths available to take. It's not a firm agenda. If the
Because I know there's been discussion about pay scales and about positions, that homeowners here are the,
Sure.
we pay the folks who work here. With the feds, the state, county government, anything, taxpayers are paying their salaries. So those salaries are public to the people who pay them. So again, I know this has been a subject that's been discussed.
boundaries.
We should be provided the same thing.
Sure. Boundaries that I have would be that I can talk about positions. I can't
Yeah.
talk about individuals.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
just positions.
Okay, so I can make sure that I'm prepared to talk about ranges and positions and things like, of that nature. But individual pay rates with employee names would be limited to the board.
So I just want to make sure I understand, because I know there were several questions. So you were basically waiting on Friday to get what you need to say, all right, I'm ready to move forward without NCM. Is that what I'm hearing?
My goal is to have all of the association's financial records so that as questions come up from the membership and the board or future auditors, that I can respond based on information that I have access to because I now have the association
On
records.
Friday, I'm trying to figure out what the Friday means. I didn't understand that.
I provided a list of outstanding items, including requests for things like a detailed general ledger
Okay, got it.
and some other records that would help me be able to respond to some of the questions that have come up.
So basically it is a
Right.
transition.
We normally, yeah, get those records.
And then they're gonna, if they meet those by Friday, here's my issue. I don't want to kick the can down, and this is not on you, I'm talking about NCM. You got a lot of work to do. You're trying to put all this stuff together for these guys. When we revisit it on Friday, like wisely, like Amiri said, what is the next step if you don't have what you need? And this is where we're not saying let's get the lawyer involved, but my point is at some point, we gotta say, look, you either give us the stuff, or else you gotta pay, or whatever it is. And so there has to be a line to saying finally, because you can't do your job if you're getting this trickle effect. I mean, you're amazing so far, but you got a little bit of information, so we need to make sure you get what you need.
Right.
So that's the only where I'm coming from. I'm not saying this is the solution. We might need to wait till Friday to do that. I just don't want to be having the same conversation next month, is all I'm saying.
I've dealt with a wide spectrum of
Yeah.
these types of transitions from, you better not be anywhere near this case, but I've dealt with associations that literally started from nothing in terms of records, and we practically had to start from scratch. That would not be an acceptable position for us to start with at Anatolia. 2, starting on the 15th of the month that we start, we receive all of the financial reports that we normally request, and boxes are flooding our office, and it's done. So we're not on either end of those spectrums, on either end of that spectrum. However, I want to be closer to the latter example.
So this feels normal. This is not unexpected for you. You're okay with what you're doing so far.
I'm not
What you're
okay.
getting.
I'm not okay.
Okay.
We're pushing it forward. Craig has been, he certainly has my back on it
Cool.
in terms of pushing that particular agenda forward with
Thank you.
NCM.
We appreciate that. We
Okay.
just want to know what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Did he ask?
From the last board meeting, I don't know if this question should be pertaining here or later now in the agenda, unfinished business. It had to pertain to the villas and reserves. I know that was a request that the board was asking you to look into. Is that something that you talked about during the financial part, or is that something that you could request for them to, for NCM to provide you that information?
There were multiple questions that have come up since the meeting that I think the Villas Reserve question came up. The qualification I put on your question, I believe, is you were asking whether or not the villas had any money available to do the tree projects that were needed. And you were explaining that there should be some funds that have accumulated over the past decade to pay for the trees that need to be removed and replaced. At that meeting, my understanding was that the question was, is there or are there funds delegated or designated for the villas to be able to do the tree work? I pointed out that on the NCM financial reports, there was an account that was labeled villas, and in the board meeting, the board said, as long as pending verification that the account was specifically for the villas, we would move forward with the first step in that tree project. I was able to verify that the next day with NCM. I emailed them in the morning, they emailed right back letting us know that yes, those funds were for the villas, and I have a bank statement that showed that the money was actually there. So,
now, isn't there supposed to be a separate line item that says reserves for the villas? That's the other question that we wanted to,
Okay.
we put towards the board, and the board was saying that you have to look into. Because there is supposed to be a specific area where the additional $2875 is going into that reserve.
I want to parse the term. You're using the term reserve, and I'm thinking of it as more of a cost center. Reserve has some very, well, it has some, I'm not the attorney. I'm trying to interpret the civil code without stepping on the wrong toes. But the reserve funds for an association are set aside for future major repairs and replacements.
Correct.
I am unaware of a requirement that the villas have a separate reserve fund There may be components that the association as a whole is responsible for that are contained within a villa's cost center, but I haven't seen that part. Now, I should, to be able to be certain about this, I should go through the CCNRs and make sure there's no separate reserve requirement for the villas. That being said, that doesn't mean we don't have a cost center to separately account for the revenues and the expenses attributable to the villa cost center.
Okay, well, can I put this request to the board? Tell me the clarification for the additional $28.75 that we pay, where does that go to? That's what I would like to look into, because if we're paying $47.85, the contract only says $20. And that's what I specifically talked about at last board meeting when we got the approval.
So there was,
Where is the $28.75? Does it go into the general fund? Because there are cost repairs, like you were saying, on the legality side of it, that if that was set up, then you could go to those reserves to replace all of the trees, shrubs, and anything else, which it states, as I clarified and stated exactly what was maintained in that cost for the front yard landscaping. So could you, I'm paying to the board, find out where the additional $28.75 is going into, because that was supposed to be a line item when it left Vieira Moore to NCM. That's why they made that statement. You're overcharging them because you're not showing the $28.75. You're only showing the $20 for the land.
So is it fair to say that that is something that we can have ready, the answer to Greg's question, by the June 3rd, or is that wrapped up in some of the questions that we're still waiting from NCM?
that was one of the questions on the list.
So that's one of the ones that we're still waiting from NCM to be able to answer his question?
I made a request for some of the information. I got a description back. I made a follow-up request specifically for the general ledger, so I have all the line items or all of the entries to support the numbers that were provided.
Okay, that's...
So it sounds like we'll be able to have a portion for sure by June 3rd, but if we don't have the whole thing, we will still pursue that answer until we ultimately get it, whether it's by the 3rd, as we hope, or sometime shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and I have a membership request for those records already anyway, so that was already in process in my attempt to meet that membership request for information.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then we'll move on to item B, the June 16 duck race summer kickoff party budget. It goes pretty fast today.
Small crowd.
Should we skip over and come back?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe we can do the manager's report, please.
Manager's report, basically it's the same. I don't have a specific manager report. I just wanted to let everybody know that what's going on right now. We're still waiting, of course, with the proposals to see what we move forward with on the pools. We had some equipment issues in the snack bar that were resolved today. The majority of them were resolved today. We still need to possibly either repair or replace one of the refrigerators in the snack bar. Waiting on the like I was talking about earlier, that Pam asked that question about the lighting and everything. Waiting on the electricians to find the electrician to control the PCI control center. Other than that, just regular little maintenance things going on and business as usual.
Okay, so quick question. So is there like manager's report template that you follow that
I can start doing,
report on?
I can do reports, any reports that you would like me for me to do for you,
Okay.
I can generate that.
No, what I mean is, let's say there are like 5 different things that you want to talk about. One may be the maintenance of the clubhouse, the other may be some,
Do you have a
I'm going to work with her. I'm putting together a board packet, so you have a whole board packet with everything you
Okay.
need for the meeting, and that will be, a good manager's report will be included.
Okay, so that will be a good thing so that, we can hit all those points on the manager's report
Yeah.
for everyone. All right.
Exactly.
All right. Are we on to committee reports? That's really a good,
Did you have something like
So
that?
that's Jane, do you already have an electrician, or do you need to find one?
I need to find one that is,
That does PCI.
that does a PCI lighting control from 12 years ago. It's a 12-year-old system.
We
And
have
that's
a couple that we've called and are waiting to see if they do it, but if you have somebody else,
Yeah, I
we'd
have a
love
buddy
to
who's been
have
doing it
that.
for 20 years, I can ask him and see if
Yes.
he's helped me fast track it, and maybe to refer you. Okay.
I
That'd
will
be
tell you,
really great.
yes.
We're
All right.
taking
Thank
any
you.
suggestions.
Thanks, Lionel. Yeah,
Okay,
so
all right,
we
committee
can
reports?
go ahead and do the committee reports, please, yes.
okay, this is something we've been waiting for a very, very, very long time, and I'm really excited that we're at the point. A huge thank you to many folks who have submitted volunteer forms to join the committees. There are 3 existing committees, and as you know, we've just recently created 3 additional committees for a total of 6 committees. And we've gotten applicants over the past month since we put this out on May 5th. So today's May, 29th, so it's 26 or so days. And we've gotten in, it looks like 18 people. Thank you so much. Some of those have come in through our suggestion box. Others have been handed to us here at the table. We've put them all in. The board has seen all of those, and I sent just the very last one. We just got the last one in today, which I sent, and I also want to make sure you guys have this one, because that just came in today from the box. Here's the complete, could you give that to Mark? And here's the complete inventory, which I also sent you. Thank you very much to Jane for keeping an eye on that suggestion box and providing those to us as they come in. This is very, very exciting. So we're going to be putting people, volunteers onto these committees tonight, as well as finalizing or approving, if we all approve, the charters for the committees and a chairperson for each of the committees. So from this list of 18 people, I did receive word today from one of them, number 8. She said she has a family situation that has just recently come up, and she's asking to withdraw. So number 8, she's withdrawing due to her family situation. But we do have 18 minus 1, so 17 people who have expressed interest. Many of them are in the room tonight. Thank you very much for your applications. Let's go through and do the approvals. I'd like to start with the membership of the committees, and then move to chairmanship for each of the committees, and then move to the charters for the committees. So for the names, we have,
I have a question before that. You cannot select any of the positions. That's done in private with the committees. Chairs, vice chair, and everything else. And that is in the CCNR. That was actually told by Phil and the last board, those positions. Just like when you guys did your position, you guys had a meeting and you picked whatever you wanted to do. So chairs are done in the committees and the committees only. The boards cannot select. There you go.
so let's start with the inspection committee. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 folks are interested in that committee.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
So if people want, let's say we get applications tomorrow or sometimes next week.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely,
You
yeah.
can still put it in.
Even after tonight, if someone is interested, please fill out the form. The forms are at the front desk. There's a whole lot of them. Please take one, please fill it out. Please put it in the suggestion box. We will get it. And don't know what the board will do with each of those individually, but I imagine we'll be very amenable to adding more people to the committees. Unless like they're really full or whatever, or if there are other reasons, but.
So one more question. real
Yeah.
quick. So if we want, let's say, neighborhood watch committee,
Yeah.
how do we add it on?
So we could, the board creates the committee, the board approves a charter, and then once we get applicants who are interested, the board would approve those people.
Okay, so is there a motion that needs to be passed to add some?
Okay.
Not correct. Again, it's not
But-
correct. If somebody wanted to start a committee, you would all they have to do is approach the board, say what type of committee, with a scope as to what the committee's about.
No, this was something that I wanted
Right.
to have like a,
Right, anybody could start and says, hey, I'd like to start a neighborhood watch, present it to the board, this is what it's about, and we have watch monitors and everything I should go for the process.
But,
So basically, that's.
but are you suggesting that we can't recommend that? Oh, so that's all that Amar was doing? That's all that Amar was doing, was setting the framework for that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion for, let's say, the remodel/interior committee. This is a very important committee. We have applicants Aaron Provençal, Tom Passerino, John Morris, Daryl Peebles, Sherry Kimbrough, and Patricia Payne. I've read their applications. I think they would be terrific on this committee. My motion at the moment is that we approve those individuals that I just named for the remodel/interior committee. Is there a
Can
second?
we have that list when you're done?
Absolutely.
So they can go in here?
And I
Trying
sent
to
I sent
spell everybody's name.
You do have it, you do have it, and yes, I'll be glad.
Perfect.
Yes.
And it's on the video.
I second the motion.
I third the motion.
So the motion to approve the remodel interior committee, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Awesome. Thank you, and thank you to the folks who have stepped up for that committee. That's going to be really helpful.
So this is something that we need to definitely communicate it out to those individuals. I don't want to wait for the next board meeting and, meetings to come out. So
Right.
is there a way by which we
Yeah,
can just,
send them, sure. We'll take care of it.
okay, thank you.
So for the committee charter for
As long as
that
I get a
committee.
list of who they are.
Right, so it is in
That's
here,
it.
so.
Yeah, it's on.
Perfect.
So for the committee charter for that committee, you've each got that. Based on our bylaws, there are several things that we can and can't do about committees and that we can and can't have them do and so forth. Based on how we put together the last time we went through a committee, this is a charter that essentially says the purpose and authority of the committee. The purpose that we're drafting for approval is that the Clubhouse Remodel Interior Committee is to advise the board on matters pertaining to possible remodel or replacement projects inside our clubhouse. Examples could include recommendations on repair or replacement of furnishings, chairs, tables, window coverings, other furnishings, stairs, interior redesign, color, style, fabric selections, repair or replacement of gym equipment, lease or purchase of gym equipment, floor selections for the aerobics room, use of spaces such as the previous massage rooms, replacement of outdated signage, and any other remodel or interior project so desired by the committee. So I move that we approve this charter for the remodel/interior committee.
Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Concerns about this?
No questions or
Okay. So is there a motion?
I made a motion, is that
Yeah,
for a second?
so I'll second it. yeah.
All right, I'll third it.
So the motion to approve the charter for the clubhouse remodel and interior committee, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Awesome.
Anybody opposed to any of that stuff? Okay.
All right. So let's move on to Clubhouse Exterior Committee. This is also a brand-new committee. I would like to move that for the Exterior Committee, we approve the following applications, and these are all the applications for this committee that we received. Aaron Provençal, Ansu Susilan, Stephen Palak, and Todd Wheeler. And then we'll come to the charter afterwards. That's my motion.
Yeah, I second it.
I third it.
So the motion to approve the exterior committees, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Excellent. And for the charter, it would be to advise the board on matters pertaining to possible construction projects on our clubhouse property outside the clubhouse building itself. Examples could include recommendations on repair or replacement of the pool deck service, to the point was made earlier, the waterfall at the rear of the pool area, cabanas, spas, deck chairs, tables, other furnishings, signage, and any other exterior project so desired by the committee. Is that in line with the expectations of the people who are here, who are on that? Okay, great. I would also point out, and this applies to the other committees as well, I didn't mention it before, but maybe I should have. The schedule of the committee meetings will be up to the committee members themselves. You don't have to run through the board to get your schedule. You can just meet together, say on a Thursday night or a Friday night or whatever works for your schedules. And no notice requirements. You don't have to post on the bulletin board if you're going to have a meeting. That's not needed. But minutes would be needed. So if you get together and you make a decision, you'd have minutes that would say, here's the decision that was made. So,
Can you also read the second and third points here, please? The committee member.
yeah, sure. So just continuing on, this is a fairly lengthy thing, and I selected part of it, but to Amar's point, I'll go a little more. The committee or members of the committee may, in their discretion, meet with potential contractors, solicit bids, receive bids, compare bids, and provide recommendations to the board. The authority of the committee shall be limited to advising the board. The committee shall not have the authority to sign contracts nor approve spending. And these charters will be available for everyone to read as you like. I'm kind of, for the sake of brevity, just selecting the key points.
Okay.
Okay, so did we have a motion already on that?
No,
No. Do you want to pass the motion?
make a motion? Well, I don't want to make the motion because I have a comment to make, but, so you make the motion.
Okay, so the motion to approve the charter for the Clubhouse Exterior Committee. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Well, we got to second it.
I'll second.
We got a second?
I
Okay.
thought we approved it, but I'll second.
And so this will be, I just want to make a comment about it.
Right.
Okay, I don't think we approved the membership.
Yes,
So-
there was.
Oh, we did?
We did.
Yeah.
We did? Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. Next is the bylaws committee. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 applicants for the bylaws committee.
Read out the
This
names.
is another brand new committee.
Shut up. Shut up.
You need a hammer?
Yeah. I know, I changed the tape, stop it.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
So the bylaws committee is also a brand new committee. It was just created on May 3rd. So the proposed charter here is that,
Do you want to read out the names?
I don't care, do you want to do the charter or the names first?
We were just following the same order, so.
Okay, we'll do names first?
Yeah.
That's fine. Those applicants were Ansu Susilan, Christine Mills, Deborah Payne, Sherry Kimbrough, Patricia Payne, Tom Buffalo, and Brent Ekegren. So I move that we approve all 7 of those to the bylaws committee.
I second the motion. So, the motion to pass, incorporate the bylaws,
The motion to add these people to the committee.
add these people to the committees. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Excellent.
Is there a discussion regarding the name? Did they give a bio?
Yes, each of them did. And yes, they did. And we've read them.
Yes.
I'm quite comfortable with the people who applied. And I would welcome more. I mean, 7 is a pretty good-sized committee. I would say let's not even hint that it's a closed, it's definitely open, if anyone else would like to add. So for the committee charter for the bylaws committee, the proposed charter includes the purpose to advise the board on possible updates to our existing bylaws. The authority, the same as the others, shall be limited to advising the board. The committee shall not have any authority to change the bylaws. There's actually legal reasons for that. The schedule, as we said before, the members of the committee will decide their own schedule, when works for them. If they want to meet on Monday mornings, Wednesdays at lunchtime, whatever works for the people in the committee. No requirement to post notice, but please do keep minutes so that we can keep track of what the committee's done. So I move that we approve this committee charter for the bylaws committee.
I will only say that we might want to have some kind of a timeline or at least advise those who want to be on that committee, because we're going to need to vote on those things during the elections, right? So we should probably keep in mind that we want to have the recommended changes in a timely fashion, so we can put that on the ballot. Right? Or unless I'm wrong on that.
That's not part of my motion. That might be something that we do.
No, but I'm saying just I'm advising,
Okay.
suggesting.
Okay. So that's not part of the motion, that's just a.
Right, I
Yeah.
just wanted to comment.
So the motion to approve the bylaws, the charter for the bylaws committee?
If it's not second.
No, so.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right?
I'll help you,
Opposed?
Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone opposed?
No.
The
Is your
motion
hand up
carries.
I just had a question because I have put my name in for 2 of the committees that have already been announced and have not heard my name at all.
Is she on the list?
How did you put it in?
I put it in the suggestion box at the last meeting,
Do you know what day?
the last time we met, 2 weeks ago.
And all the hard copies are right there, and I scanned them all to you.
So, yeah, I was kind of surprised that there were only 18 people though, so I thought there were more.
These are everything that,
Pam is here.
so I would love to,
Pam is for neighborhood, exterior.
well, heck, let's put her on.
You're on, you're
How
on.
did that happen?
You're on.
What's the date? What's the date?
Because I know I was on, I submitted mine as well.
Mine hasn't been mentioned.
Yeah, that was our last board meeting.
Your name I saw, right?
Mine is on there, yeah.
Right.
I
All
don't
right.
remember my name.
Yeah, so your name was not there, did you?
Yeah,
I saw your name.
Yeah, I filled it out and turned it in. I think.
Because I'm really surprised that there are only 18 names here. I thought there were a lot more.
Let's have a look. Can I see Pam? I think Pam would be good.
So I know a few of my,
We're on, you can't get up.
You just have to get a hold of something that's something.
I don't see Lionel.
It's supposed to be transparent, so everybody's. You did yours the same thing. Yep, I had them, I didn't write.
So Pam, you applied for inspection, exterior, and bylaws. Does that sound right to you, Pam?
Yeah.
And Lionel,
Inspection and exterior.
inspection and exterior?
Yes, sir.
can you double check this?
That's everything that I gave Craig.
I know you well enough
And
to
I
know that I
scanned
think
to
you'd be
it.
terrific on
It's
those
all
two
there.
committees, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We'll have to figure out why that didn't show up here, and if anyone else thought they submitted, and we need to get that as well. But I would love to have you on both of those committees.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we add Pam Ayo
I have a copy.
to the inspection, exterior, and bylaws committees. And in the same motion, I'm going to move that we add Lionel Galloway to inspection and exterior committees.
I second the motion. So the motion to add Pam and Lionel to the committees, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Is there anyone else in the room who applied that hasn't heard? Okay.
We
need to
haven't
figure
done
out-
inspections yet, right?
I'm sorry.
We haven't done the inspections
Right,
committees.
inspection and ACC are coming up next. But yes, your name's on it. So on inspection, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 applicants, other than the 2 that we just added. I'm going to make a motion that we add Marty Lewis, Daryl Peebles, Deborah Payne, Sherry Kimbrough, and Andy Payne. The one applicant that I'm not putting in this motion, and I would like him to submit another application, is because for qualifications, he wrote nil. He may have some great qualifications for this committee, and I would like to know what those are. And I think our members, everyone in the room and everyone in the neighborhood deserves to know the qualifications of the people that they're havoc on these committees. So I'm holding his name to the side. I don't want to number 6. I don't want to say no, but I would like to ask him, and I have asked him, I haven't gotten a response yet, for him to provide a more complete background on himself.
Okay.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any second?
Yes. So the motion to add the following people to the inspection committee. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Next is Architectural Control Committee. This is the one that has the most existing members. I believe it has 5 existing members. And we have 2 new applicants, Ron Hutton and Daryl Peebles.
So are these only the new ones?
These are just the forms received, right? This is just new.
Yeah, but what about the people who are already in the committee?
They're already on.
So, okay. So it is just to add those people?
These are just the ads.
Right.
So I move that we add Ron Hutton and Daryl Peebles to the ACC.
Are they here tonight? Either of them? Okay.
So that's my motion. We add these.
I second it. So the motion to add these people to the ACC committee, everyone in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Awesome. This is a real big step forward for our neighborhood. Thank you, everyone who applied. Thank you to people who are thinking of applying. We'd love to receive your application. If the committee turns out to be something that's not what you thought, that's okay. It's okay to withdraw, but I really am looking forward to having much greater participation from the community. That's really going to help us.
So I want to pass a motion to add a neighborhood watch committee. So the motion is to add a neighborhood watch committee and reach out for applicants for that.
I'll second that.
So the motion to add a neighborhood watch committee, everyone in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Right on.
And I'll sweeten the pot, whoever's on that committee gets a whistle.
Big whistle?
Any size.
All right, anything else on this item?
Committee appointments? No.
All right, so Jane, do you have the June 16 duck race?
I didn't leave to go get it. It's on my desk.
Okay,
And right now, it's kind of a moot point because it's only 3 weeks and we would not be able to get everything set up. It was just now put on the agenda.
On
so,
board?
yeah.
okay, all right. All right.
So, okay, so, go ahead.
Right, so the next item is the unfinished business.
And A is Anatolia Recovery Plan.
Recovery plan, yes.
So I'm going to be really brief on this. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay. Regarding the recovery plan and in particular looking at contract, I'm not going to make the same speech that I made before about that it might be a good idea to consider being a self-managed HOA rather with the proviso of having a consortium as our business back office people. One thing I want to comment on is if you look that up on the internet, you'll find all kind of articles that are horror stories about self-managed HOAs. I'll make 2 observations about those. One is they're generally about small HOAs that feel like they can't afford to hire a management company. And those people do often get themselves into trouble. That's not who we are. The other proviso about those articles is that they're generally written by association management companies. So if you ask an association management company whether you should hire an association management company or not, you can imagine what their response will be.
Yes, you should.
Having said all that, I do have some documents for the board, not to review in depth, but rather than saying what they say, I'll just tell you what they are. The first one is an advertisement that was on LinkedIn sometime back for an executive director for Mountain Park Homeowners Association. That's a very large association, over 8,000 people in that community, 45,000 foot clubhouse. They do not have an association management company. They have their own management team that they have put in. So it can be done, and it is done. I have also included some snippets from web pages describing the community and the full-time executive director for Anatolia community in Arizona. And then I've also included a posting for an executive director position for a large community of about 2,000, but that has much more in recreational than we have. These are just examples of what job descriptions look like. Now, and the second one and the third one, the Anatolia in Arizona and the executive director position I just mentioned, those are actually with association management companies. But that's an outline of a full-time person that has an office at, for us, it would be at our clubhouse. And, you know, it doesn't have to be somebody that's employed by an association. The last document that I gave you is a listing from Indeed.com. I just put in community manager for HOAs, and there's just a bunch of listings there. You can see salary ranges that are paid, and some of these listings are not directly comparable, but the salary range goes up to, I think, 113,000, which would be more of the full-time executive director, or maybe something larger than what we have. This is just to give you a flavor of the kind of person we might be looking for. Some of these job descriptions, minimum of 10 years, successful high-profile HOA management experience, responsible for staff of no less than 50, college degree, industry designations. You know, getting somebody in who's a serious executive to run the show using consortium as the back office. Does this address the risks that Craig identified under the recovery plan? I believe that it does. If there's anything that's not addressed in that, it might be the idea of if we have an association, they might have some extensive network of vendors that they deal with. I think if we expand our contract with consortium a little bit, if they have a network of vendors they deal with, they might be willing to help us out with that as a thought. So I do think that it does address these risks. Okay. This would be a time-consuming process to go through all this. I don't know that. Go ahead.
So, thank you, Gary, for that research. That's excellent work. Gary's a guy who's very thorough with his analysis, very thorough with his thinking, and thank you very much for putting this together. A couple of points for everyone in the room. First, the reason for the Anatolia recovery plan is because of the huge risks that we're facing under the current contract. It's not about people, it's not about who's in place, it's about the contract that's in place. If you haven't read it, please read it. There's a page that talks about the risks that we have right now. Yeah, that page that Gary's is showing. It's about
the one I was just referring to,
exactly.
How this addresses that.
Correct. It's about the third or so page of the Anatolia recovery plan. Please get a copy. If you don't have one, please ask me. I'll be glad to give you a copy. I've passed out many copies already. The purpose, the driving reason that we need it is because we have contract risks right now that we are all bearing, all of us as homeowners, that are unacceptably high and need to be fixed. Gary's got some great ideas on some ways to fix it. One blockage that we have is under our current bylaw 9.6. There is a prohibition against going to self-manage unless there's, I believe it says, 75% of the homeowners agree. So 75% of 2,000 would be 1,500 homes. That's a very high hurdle. And that may not be something that we want to try to overcome. However, go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that in the bylaws.
Right.
I withdraw the suggestion.
He withdraws the suggestion. Okay. His point is still very true.
Adam had some net. No.
Well, we were going to mention that self-managed can be interpreted a number of different ways.
Right.
I believe in most settings, when the term self-managed is used, it's pointed towards the smaller associations that Gary
And the
was
board
calling
is
out as an
running.
example.
Right.
I would suggest that you ask legal counsel
Right.
what the definition is, and if the proposal that Gary has is.
Well, he withdrew that part. So.
Then I withdraw my withdrawal until we.
So it's back on, you're saying? All right.
Put it back.
Until legal says whether or not that provision applies to us.
Right.
Yeah.
So point being, Gary's got some great ideas. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there more you want?
Yeah, I was going to suggest also, because I keep hearing the unnecessary risk conversation resurface regularly. And I've heard from Bruce that by the time you get to the indemnity clause that's standard in all management company agreements throughout our industry, you have a functional equivalent anyway. I may be misinterpreting that, but since it keeps coming up,
Yeah.
why don't you request a formal opinion from the attorney and ask?
Right.
What it says.
Thank you. So,
That's okay, go ahead, Craig.
so I would ask people, please read that plan. Please become familiar with what the risks are that we're under today. There are a number of ways to go about addressing them. I have a specific suggested path. It doesn't have to be that path, but we got to find a path out of where we are today. I don't want to get into all the details right now, but please read that. Please understand what those risks are because we got to get out of them. The path that I'm suggesting in that Anatolia recovery plan does steer clear of some of the pitfalls that other associations have stumbled into. Self-management is one issue that let's not open that door, at least not now, and maybe not ever, but certainly not now. Thank you, Gary. This research is really good. In particular, some of the companies that you've put together. I would say also in the recovery plan towards the back, it talks about other providers that could provide the management. CID may have a great team to do that, and we are asking them to put together a contract that provides that for us. At the same time, I'm also suggesting that we get price competition for that as well from others, including this one that's in Gary's packet for service residential.
Okay, no, yeah, but that wasn't my purpose in providing that. That was strictly for the job description.
Understand.
Okay,
But
got it.
it's-
Yeah, they're one of the
it's
ones.
for a company that would
Yeah,
potentially
they're
be-
like number 2 in the region, I think.
Right. Who's to say, not necessarily the best, but certainly a good competitor. So what I would ask is please be familiar with that plan and come and speak pros and cons, what you think about it, because it really does need to be a neighborhood decision. So I saw something from Tom.
Do you have all those online, all the documents?
How about I put them on? Okay.
Because I think people looking, then they can go on the agenda.
Okay.
Since this is a topic that keeps getting brought up, can we ask for that legal brief on what the, a written statement from the lawyer and what he thinks the legalities are of it? I think that was a good point.
That was my thing on, are we ready for B? A reminder of what we
So, I think this is for me, this is a personal bone of frustration. I'm just gonna put it out there. Number one, I'm very frustrated the lawyer's not here. That's number one, that's number two, that's number three. Hopefully, everything's okay with them. Number two, I'm happy we have a bylaws committee. I'm a little frustrated that the bylaws that we have seem to thwart us from being able to do ideas. So for me, I'd like to get an understanding of what the expectation is for legal to be at these meetings. Are they always supposed to be here, or are they supposed to be invited? Or, because now here we are, having this discussion, the man has asked for a legal brief, and now we gotta have to get that requested, instead of being able to have the person answer it on the spot, and now that's another month that's gone by. You know, so I'm just, you know, if he's not able to make it, maybe we need to get someone else, but we need to get some quick response time, because these guys are working their butts off. So I expect for him to be the same.
So my understanding was that, I mean, most of our homeowners associations don't have legal counsel attend every board meeting.
Okay.
If there is a topic that's being discussed, they will, that they feel is important to have the attorney's feedback on, they'll ask the attorney to be present.
Okay.
It's
My
rare.
understanding is that it's been as requested. We'd be happy to coordinate if that's
Okay.
the direction the board wants to go. But it's not free either.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's a cost for him to come out here?
Oh, yeah. Clock starts ticking.
It's an hourly rate for him to be here.
$4.15 an
Probably
hour.
including transport time and.
So maybe by a quick show of hands. So the way it's happened in the past, as Lori said, it's generally rare for the attorneys to be at the meetings. We've gone more than rare. We've had him here, what, maybe half the time or so?
3 or 4
Yes.
Lionel's saying he'd like more. By a show of hands, who would like more? Who would like not more?
Tell them the rate first.
Right. Okay, so I'm seeing more hands for not more.
Well,
it's not. So
maybe it's more important now as we're trying to navigate some of the things we don't know about. We're trying to make progress. So maybe now it's more important if we had him here at, I don't want to say every meeting, because I mean, it's probably at least a couple $1,000s to have him here at a meeting.
Well, my point is if instead of having him at every meeting, I didn't know about the cost, if that makes sense. Maybe we have a concentrated where he comes one time and we address rapid fire the issues that he needs to take care of.
I think you described the way it's been, which is, you know, he comes maybe about once every 2 meetings and does address a lot of things that way, but then it's not every meeting.
Okay, so I guess the problem is how does the board, how does the community, so the community has, I'm part of the community, I have these frustrations, I need legal counsel to help. What is an inexpensive but efficient way for the lawyer to help support us? Because I feel like, for me personally, I don't see the support. I see actually adversarial dialogue from the meetings that I saw. So I'm a little frustrated, as I said, and I'm not sure, he's not here to defend himself, so I'd like to have a conversation with him that doesn't cost me $2,000. But my point is it does not feel, I don't feel a camaraderie, I feel a butt all the time, and I need to get past that.
Well, his comment always is that he's not the attorney for individuals, he's the attorney for the corporation.
Of course,
Right.
got it.
And so I'm sure he would say that, that would be his open thing. You know, there are alternatives online to look up.
Okay.
There certainly are the whole Davis Sterling people and Adams Sterling has some great information on the sites. And then if you had a spare $25 or $50, you could do, there's something called Ask the Lawyer or something like that. You know, and if you really had a real, you know, issue, you could do that. I've done that myself. I have lawyers for my business, but I sometimes do that. So I think you could do that, or just put your question into the Google thing, and of course you'll get a lot of stuff, but you'll get some interesting things.
No, thank you, and I could be wrong, and he could be doing an awesome job, it's just not translated.
Well, because he'll say he's only representing the corporation,
Got it.
right? You know, frankly, between you and me, he only ever responded to me once when I wasn't on the board. And he probably did that because he probably thought I was just some little nutty guy, and he was right. But he, you know, he did it. But after that, he never responded while I was not on the board. And so, but I didn't take it personally.
Okay.
Although I take everything personally.
So maybe if there was like a just so we're not repetitive in the questions form, and maybe somebody could get all the questions together and we can address them all at the same time.
I just, yeah, because I just get the sense that, you know, we talk about doing something and it's like, oh, you can't do that, you can't, and then the question was put, well, how do we fix it so we can do what we want? And then it's like, I didn't feel like we got an answer.
Or at the Sacramento, or I think any county has it, their law library, there's
Yeah.
usually legal counsel there that you can go and discuss
Maybe I'll
things
go
with, and they don't charge you anything.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make an appointment, but if you wanted to talk with somebody about some specific area of law, they might be able to answer it
Thank you.
specifically, and then you could have a more in-depth conversation, or at least, you know, educated conversation, you know, kind of attorney to attorney.
And there are
Appreciate it.
some law forms on there too, and you can also look at HOA law forms and ask questions on that.
Thank you, thank you.
One suggestion that you might find helpful is some of our communities, when questions come up, the board can make a request of the attorney to answer a specific question in writing. It doesn't provide you with the immediate response and feedback that you've gotten in dialogue in some of the meetings, but if you need a concrete answer to a question and you don't want them here at the meeting, that would be one way to get it, and then it's memorialized so that if future boards wanted to reference it, or the membership wanted to reference it, they could.
It's good.
There's also a lot that we can answer in general business process questions and with our familiarity with the Civil Code and the Davis-Sterling Act and the Corporations Code. While we're not attorneys to provide a legal opinion on something, we can tell you some basic procedural things that need to occur or should occur to help guide you through those processes. That might be partly why we don't always have an attorney present.
I have a question.
One thing I would like to ask the board, and this is a personal pet peeve for me, and I know it is for other people that have been in these meetings, I would really like it, when he's here, if you guys would address the fact he doesn't pay attention. And many times questions get answered and have to be repeated because it's like we woke him up. He's busy in his phone doing whatever, checking baseball scores, you know, and it's like, if we're gonna pay him that kind of money, $415 an hour to be here.
I'll just take his phone before he comes in. I mean, if we're paying him for it, I'm not gonna play him to play Candy Crush.
I want his attention, and I don't want him having to say,
I can let him know.
you know, and you guys are the ones apparently that have to address it, although I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so moving on. Oh,
I have a question. So you work with several HOAs, right?
What's that?
That's what we do. for a
Right,
living.
and is the attorney rate the same?
They vary, some are higher, some are lower.
What's lower and what's higher?
Kurt Charles, way higher. You know, the thing is if you get an associate attorney, it's gonna be less. Bruce owns his business, and so his rate is a little higher. He's at $450. Most partners or something are around that, so it's really pretty standard rate. But if you have an associate attorney that's not a partner or anything, then it's gonna be more like $350. And then they do
We
go
need
up
an
from there,
associate attorney,
$550,
that's more eager.
$750.
Thanks, Mayor. So getting back to the initial topic that we were discussing, Craig brought up with the recovery plan and then talking about management companies. Craig's bringing up the question of the concerns of exposure that we have. You've listed those out in those documents. I haven't heard anyone else ask this question or heard you give the idea that you've already discussed this at all with the consortium. I mean, that list of concerns that you have you already asked them to provide some other options that would resolve the issues that you're seeing?
We do have an ongoing dialogue. We've been having an ongoing dialogue for weeks, and we're at that page now. We are asking and we're hoping to get a bid, you know, if you're familiar with this column, which is something that would be comparable from consortium on a contract basis that would not have those risks. That conversation's continuing, and I want to continue it. Has it come to an end? No. But I would very much like to get a proposed contract from consortium which alleviates the risks on us.
My concern is that we just changed owner management companies. Now, we switched over to consortium, and my experience with them so far is they are all in to help our community.
Absolutely, I think so.
And I'm of the belief that if you bring it up to them, allow them the opportunity to, I don't know why we're opening up this whole new,
Okay, fair
this
enough.
whole new opportunity to go out to bid again. I don't see the,
It's not going out to bid again on something that's already covered. I would refer you to the second page of the Anatolia Recovery Plan, which talks about how professional the experiences are that we're experiencing from them. We believe, my personal thought, they've been very, very professional in doing the accounting work that they're contractually with us to do.
it seems to me that there's a loophole that you found that you're going to open up the door again to look at other management companies. I mean, as I looked at that list, and you brought up in previous meetings since I've owned here, you were talking about certification. Nobody's defined really what our true benefit is of that certification yet. But yet it's being touted as if all of a sudden someone is a PhD versus somebody that's an undergrad.
I don't think I used that analogy, but...
I'm using that analogy.
Okay.
That's the way it's being viewed in my mind.
Okay.
And so again, I'm asking the question, you've asked them for a quote to update their contract to meet these requirements yet, or not?
Yes.
Have they responded to that?
We have an ongoing dialogue. They haven't given a proposal, but yeah, we have an ongoing dialogue, and I'm hoping it goes in the direction, but we won't know till we get one.
Just don't
Do you guys want to do that, or, I mean, you guys are here.
And maybe we'll get one that we don't like, and in that case, we would just stick with what we have now. We don't know what we'll get until we get it.
One thing that I'd like to bring up, and it's probably semantics, but it says a lot for people that basically don't come to these meetings all the time, and they just look at paperwork and that chart that you keep showing, you have this big red block there with consortium's name in it.
On this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Which says to the average person, danger, stay away. And then you have green boxes for all these other companies that you want to come in and do a dog and pony show. That's unfair. It's extremely unfair because consortium has been nothing but professional. They've responded to everything anybody has asked. They've had answers. They've been more transparent and fair than I ever saw with the other two
Completely agree.
companies.
Completely agree.
Why do
So do you guys want to do it, or, I mean, you're here in the room, you can just
We're
speak.
talking about you.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, are you interested, or?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The question to, if the board would like to kind of lay my cards out on the table. We have been asked for a proposal. This was before we had a complete board. And we provided proposals, as did other management companies, correct, Craig?
Absolutely.
So that was a proposal for full service management, and that was done. When asked again to provide a proposal, my thought process was we'd be better off in our own company's best interest, knowing that based on my recollection of a meeting, actually maybe 2 meetings, I can picture Bruce in that corner saying that he was unaware, and one in this corner when he stated that he was unaware of any increased risk resulting from our contract that other management company contracts wouldn't put your association in. So to me, that means whether you label it one thing or another, in the end, the risk is the same, however you get there legally. I'm not an attorney and I can't speak to those nuances. Maybe your board will ask.
Let me just clarify, because what I just heard you say is you provided a proposal initially that addressed those risks. We decided to say, okay, we like this smaller set of services, and you're doing that now.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Let me back up even a step further, because when we originally made a proposal to the board, the 5 members that were here before, 4 of them resigned. Our proposal had 3 options on it.
Okay.
One was to provide only accounting services. Nothing else, which is collect the assessments, pay the bills, produce financial reports, and we're out. The next option was, we'll provide your accounting services, an HR service, and we'll provide consulting services. That's where our management team is readily available on call to the manager or the board to respond to any management needs that come up, and we outline things that we may do. And I think it's reinforced in the Anatolia recovery plan that Craig crafted, that we may do a lot of things. We have to be asked to do them.
Of course.
So the board, and then we had a third option to provide full management.
Does that include
In that proposal, it was expensive. In our original proposal to the board. The board chose, after meeting with other management companies, they chose our company and the consulting option.
Okay.
We formed an agreement on that option.
Got it.
Craig, when he was on his own, had gone out and requested proposals, one from us, and he encouraged us to focus on that full management labeled option.
Okay.
So we provided that, and we sharpened our pencil, if you will, from the last one, knowing that that was the direction that he was seeking. So we put that together, and I don't know where that process stopped, but it wasn't with the full board. So now that the full board is here and the concerns are coming up, our proposal is to say, look, you don't need a new contract. All of the service elements are provided in our contract. What we need is direction from the board to assume this responsibility. Furthermore, I was pointing out that your bylaws actually, even though there's a requirement for full management or to not be self-managed, the board is responsible for the management of the association. However, it's normal and customary for volunteer board members who have other things to do with their lives and run an association for no pay to delegate responsibility. That's why you didn't do a reserve study. You delegated that responsibility to a third party. That's why you aren't out here cleaning the pools. It's not their responsibility. Well, it may be their responsibility to cause it to happen, but it's not expected of them to go out there and clean the pools. We have people to take care of it. Similarly, we can be assigned the responsibility to provide that management. Right now, we're responding to situations as they arise, provide assistance in facilitating vendor services and providing assistance in facilitating the board meetings. It has been a little scramble because sometimes we're not clear on who's got the ball, but we're working that out and tightening that so that we're clearer. But ultimately, to get to a full service equivalent, all you have to do is say, CID Consortium, we assign this responsibility to you. Please handle it. It could be that Lori becomes the supervisor of Jane and supervises Jane and is responsible for making sure that all the safety concerns are being met. She may need to come out here a couple times a month and walk the property or go out with the inspector once in a while to make sure that he is advised on what he should be looking for or should not be looking for, and handle those matters. And we drafted a board resolution and put that out as a proposal because that doesn't require going out to bid. To be honest with you, I'd rather not draft a new contract because, to me, that puts us at risk of having to go through the bidding process and then expose that, yeah, we are smaller than the other management companies that are listed on that proposal. I think that's highlighted. But I also note that the source of that, some of that information was a journal, the Sacramento Business Journal. I believe that some of the information may have come from there. And if you go to your former management company's website, see what award they got from it.
Got it, no, I got it. So I'm gonna take what you did and condense and said, you've provided the board with something that says we can expand this without having to go to contract, which is kind of what he's saying. We're saying it in simple terms. So we have the framework already in place. What I'm telling you as a homeowner, and I can only speak for myself and my 5 kids and my wife, is that we like the management part of it, what Craig is talking about with the risk. There's some liability concerns if something happens. Does that fall on the HOA community? Does that fall on you guys? I think you guys need to have conversations to work out. But we like having Jane separate because I feel like there was a problem with NCM when it was a whole package. So I like that maybe there's some sort of supervisor or some check balance type of thing. But for us, that was a lot of concerns that came from the room. So it's nice to hear that we don't have to go through that paperwork. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's refreshing to hear that direct response. So thank you.
We, 2 things. Number one is, what do you mean we're not getting paid? But we can say but the
I'll
other
double that salary.
But the other thing is, I just want to know, is it tax deductible?
Yeah.
But
There might be some.
But actually, in our last executive board meeting, and we haven't had one since the last one, the next one will be after this meeting, we actually discussed this point. Because the issue amongst ourselves, I must tell you, is very much the same that everybody is suggesting. And it's even this way with Craig, that Craig, I believe Craig is honest in his commentary about that he's happy, that he's not dissatisfied. There's an issue of some specifics. So the suggestion was made to Craig that construct the terms that you want.
Okay, cool.
And I'm assuming that we, on our next executive meeting, will hear
You're correct.
from Craig on
Yes,
that
you're
exact
right.
point.
You're very right.
Well, thank you guys.
But we literally, we have not discussed, there are some things we can't discuss.
No, I understand. I'm glad you're working on it. That's what I just needed to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, so whichever route we wind up going, my impression is it's going to take time. If we go out and look at bids from all these different organizations, evaluate, try to build consensus, get buy-in, whatever, hire them, then we have to give consortium 2 months notice.
No, it wouldn't be taking them away from anything if they're already contractually required to do.
Oh, okay, so
So
if
it
we
would not involve that.
Okay, so if we bring somebody in, they probably don't have a highly qualified community manager sitting there ready to swoop in, and twiddling their thumbs, we're just waiting for us to call. There's going to be a transition, obviously. I don't see how that can happen real fast. What I would suggest would be, let's let this process happen maybe with the next board, but in the meantime, immediately or as close to immediately as possible, expand the scope with consortium to let them work on solving our immediate problem. That gives them maybe not a fair chance, but it gives them a chance to show what they can do. Some of the concerns that I've expressed about them, being able to handle this on the community management side. No question at all about the accounting and back office. They're 100% there. But otherwise, we're 3 months still arguing over who we're gonna bring in. Anybody we bring in to do community management besides them is going to have a ramping up, getting to know us period, and a transition period. I think they're ready to do it, and if we could just tell them, expand under the current contract, you know, to include this, and we've got the billing rates already built into the contract. That's my suggestion.
Well, and again, that's why the suggestion was made, you know, finally, to say, instead of waiting for them to sort of select the right hit buttons that we like, that we should say to them, here's what we got. And so, and then they would come back and say, oh, okay, we'll do that gladly for no extra charge whatsoever.
He was listening, you know.
You're welcome to return the favor, Mark. You can double our salary,
Double
we'll
our
double
salary.
yours.
I'll even triple yours, Mark.
And I'd love to come back at our next open meeting to share results of that, because that is something that we are planning to speak about in executive session. And I would really much like to come with responses to those things.
I would also like to request that before this recovery plan gets handed out any further, that red and green be removed because it's unfair. That's number one. And number two, and this may caveat off what has already been said, but I really think 2 months into this contract, it's extremely unfair because consortium has been faced with this. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We need to do this from day one. I don't feel, as a resident here, that it's been fair to them at all. It's like they came in and immediately got labeled as, you're not taking any responsibility for anything, you're putting all the liability on everybody else. And Adam's right. Bruce sat here twice and said, absolutely not. That's not true. And I think to constantly be bringing this up and showing these other names for these other management companies is flat out wrong and unfair.
Okay, so let's move on to item number B.
Brent has one question.
Oh, you had, sorry.
And I apologize, I'll try to make this shorter. So Craig, you just alluded to that nothing would change with our contract with them if we run it a different management company. Did I understand that correctly?
What I said was it wouldn't be taking them away from anything that they're currently contractually required to provide.
They'll still be doing the accounting services.
So we would bring in this other management company and they'd be stripped down from doing the accounting.
They would not be doing anything on accounting.
Yeah, they would just be.
So you'd have two.
They'd
We'd
be
have
working
two
together.
companies.
We'd have
They
to-
would just have- Okay, that's the first time
Is that-
I ever heard that said.
So I would hope that people have a chance to read, because
It's in there.
I know it's a long 10-page or 12, however long it is, about 10. But there are some important parts to that in what I'm hearing tonight. It's kind of clear that there's perhaps some misconceptions. Maybe I need to be more clear in the document.
Or in what you're suggesting tonight.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
state clearly what it is that you're wanting to do with that recovery.
The main central point that I'm concerned about is the risks that we have currently.
But
And
the
your
risks aren't
proposed
there
solution
because
is-
Bruce said they're not.
I remember, he was on his phone though, remember?
It
You
doesn't-
made the point that
It
he's
doesn't
kind of
matter.
down here
The
taking his
liability
phone
falls on him because it was in 2 separate meetings that he said the risks are not there.
I think that's quite how he said it.
Just to concise and bring it home, when you, from the plan, there's some liability concerns of if something happens to someone, who takes responsibility? And so I assume what I heard, that the board's trying to work that out with the terms that Mark talked about, they can't go into. So right now, I looked at it as the community needs to wake up and make sure, hey, are we going on the right course of action with, we having them as only as accounting. So do we need to have a property management company or not? And then what I understand from Craig is he's saying, hey, if we look into that option and we're looking at expanding their role, should we look at other companies too and give them a shot? What we're hearing from the room, like you said, you pointed out, and I'm hearing from Adam, hey, they kind of already have a skeleton in place. We just need to put some bones in that puppy, right? So we might scratch part of the recovery plan to look at other companies and just expand consortium to do that. And that's kind of where we are right now. And the board is looking into it.
And the other thing I would say on that point is that from the moment that Craig first showed us what I refer to as the Christmas tree, that there were several of us, and this was before I was on the board, and Amar was on the board, and there were several of us who had said to Craig that evening, we think you should put off those meetings. And he did. He himself knew. He said, yeah. And he put off the meetings. So it wasn't like it was really on the front burner.
Right.
And I would say it's been on the back burner, but I still walk around with my Christmas tree presentation, so I know it's there. But I think your point of the color coding is a good, is good. I mean, so let's change the colors. And
But I will say, every meeting we have, that recovery plan gets brought up. Every single meeting.
well, I think
It's getting redundant.
Well, I think the nature of it is very good. And it may very well be that a minor change in our color presentation makes it better.
Okay.
I have one.
I was sued, my son was in a car accident, he was on my insurance, he was 18, he was living at my house. I can tell you that they will throw everybody in the pile and they will start weeding people out. So they'll be in there, we'll be in there, if anything was to happen. Then they start throwing people out. So no matter how the contract is worded, we're all gonna be liable. That's just the way California is.
Makes sense.
And, you know,
The caveat to that is if our contract with them says that we will indemnify them, then, and as I understand it, that's common language in association management contracts, then even if they get sued, we're on the hook for it.
Right,
The
exactly.
risks for people who maybe not have read that recently, the risks are way beyond insurance or liability.
Yeah.
That's just one. You know,
Right.
there's the training, there's support for staff, there's all kinds of other things on there. And please read those, because what I'm hearing is kind of some misconceptions about what's in there. Please refresh yourselves on what's in there so that we can have a really good conversation. And I do expect that in our next open meeting, we can come back with some results.
Awesome.
Well, this would be my last comment before you guys go to executive fund. I'm in full support of what Gary's last suggestion is that in the interim period, that you do make it possible for them to fill in the gap, so to speak.
Absolutely.
I think that's what was said. And then I'm also going to request that none of these changes take place until we have a 5-member board. And I'm also going to suggest that not even reviewing the options takes place until we have a 5-member board. Because there are 2 more voices on our regular board that are not being heard. And in the discussion.
Are you meaning specifically on this issue?
Specifically on the management company issue. I believe we need a full attended board to be in discussion on this.
That's a very good point.
Personally, I think that's probably a good suggestion, barring an emergency. But I would say, I think that that's how we've been operating. We haven't been running out saying that the house is on fire and we need to make a replacement. So I think we've been going about it slowly, right?
Yeah, but my point, Mark, is that if you're going to have these proposals that are submitted to this 3-member board, and then we have an election take place, and then 2 new members, or possibly 5 whole new board members come, then all they're going to have are the notes from the previous 3-member board to go on to try to make a decision. That's not fair to the new board to try to make a decision based on what your notes were for that.
Personally, I have no.
And I'm not pointing it directly at you, Mike.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying
but
in
what I
general.
mean is, so from my standpoint, if we have some kind of a vote on that, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
I don't think we have seen any other contracts so far either.
I just want to hear what you're gonna do with
Right.
them. That's kind of where I'm at for what you're already doing. So,
Okay. All right, guys,
Thank you.
let's
you.
move on to the next one. So the item number B.
I don't think we have anything to say unless you guys are anything to say, and that's just a reminder for everyone that we have those meetings coming up. And this is specifically from, there were many, many questions that were brought up back in April. People asked, well, what about this, what about this, what about this? All great questions. So we said, all right, let's group those together. I think, was it Lionel, I think, was making a similar point earlier tonight. So there was one on Clubhouse, there was one on financial management, several others. And these
I
are
don't
two
think
that are left.
it is- So these are informational meetings, right? They're not like board meetings.
They're not board meetings, but it's like town hall.
Right.
Okay.
It's a Q&A session.
If the board members are there, they are board meetings, and they do have to have an agenda, be posted 4 days and all that.
If there's a
But-
board,
But the
of
agenda,
board.
yeah, the agenda is like discussion only, that kind of thing.
I won't actually be here for those 2 days coincidentally, so we're clear. We're good.
Okay, so any new business?
If it's not on the agenda, you can't talk about it, so you can't add anything.
I'm ready for.
So you can adjourn.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
You form these committees with real no direction on how the committees get together. Is there going to be an email posted with the other committee members' names or numbers, or so that they can move forward and get a date to get together, or something like that?
Let's make sure we get the
Yeah.
information.
Maybe from your other experience, if you have any like standard template emails to send out. maybe-
Provide them with some guidance on how they
Yes.
can conduct their meetings.
Yeah, I will, that's what I was saying, I'll give it, tell them
Right.
Like a
what
run-
They can
they
decide.
need to do and things like that, I'll give
Right.
them that information.
Yes, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I have a page on committees too, on what, your job is.
All right, cool. So if that is all there is, then we can adjourn the meeting and move on to the executive session. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.